the delta wing ones, triangular shaped ships. They were all identified there. They even talked about how, and all fully recorded through the Air Force, where an F-16 or F-18 would be following one of these things, and they would lock on with their radar, and the moment they did, the thing would shoot ahead at an unbelievable speed, and just 10 miles ahead, instantly, like this. And then it would let it catch up with them again. But the moment it locked on radar, shoot ahead. But they witnessed things that were impossible. The ship would disappear and reappear directly behind the F-16. They'd just gone, and then it'd be right behind them. And this was talked about in the beginning, in the first 5 years, before any of this stuff emerged out in the world. And the most interesting one, which they talk about in here, is the spheres of light. Two kinds. These big balls of burning light that are look like they're on fire, which we're still seeing in the world, all over the world. And these balls of light that are moving around, usually in sets of 3 or 4. And the spheres of light, which are these translucent, brilliant lights. And I've seen these myself. And that are usually only about this big, about this big to maybe this big, that they have tracked with, they've photographed, they've done everything else with them, but they had no idea what they were. It didn't fit into anything. The end result of this book, after 5 years and after he just published this thing, and at that time it was too early for the governments to realize that you can't do these things. The end result is that he believes that there's only one answer left, because they have checked every known possibility in existence on this planet, and the only answer left is that they're from another planet. He didn't have the concepts or ideas of other dimensions and other levels of existence in those ways. So his own thing is that they had to be interplanetary. And so I believe, and I think if you read this book, you'll believe it too, that they're here. They really are here. The answer is why. And I think you might find the real reason that brought them in had to do with World War II. Had to do with something we call the atomic bomb. And when we exploded that bomb, first time, we broke galactic law. You are not to do fission reactions, but only fusion reactions. Fission is splitting matter apart. Fusion is putting it together. All the stars in the sky are fusion, of bringing matter together. And fission is against galactic law. And that's why they came here, initially. That's what brought them. And it's not just one or two, by the way. It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cultures that are here, observing us in many levels and watching what we're doing and interacting with us on all kinds of levels. But I'm not going to go into that deeper. There's a lot more of it in the book itself in terms of the grays and the abductions and cattle mutilation and all the various other kinds of things that have been going on. But I just want to put this out to say that I believe this is really a real situation, not a fantasy one. And we need to look at this one in conjunction with the other four, that you begin to see that a higher consciousness is here on Earth. A very high consciousness is here on Earth. And our lives are going to be altered forever. And that is occurring at this very minute as we sit in this room. And this is that slide I wanted to show you, I think. You see these other ships of Billy Myers, especially this one here. Look at the shape of this, that dome-shaped thing that comes like that. Well, the kings of England were buried in chambers that look like this. And they were buried right in the center where the cockpit would be, sort of. There's another one back up sitting over there. They look like ships that have landed on the ground. Now, where do you think they got that image? Maybe they saw it. Just maybe. I'm using this image also because the next one that the next phenomenon I want to talk about, well, first of all, one second. That last phenomena is now 52 years old. Just to finish this last one up, the UFOs. They've been here for 52 years. And the sightings are not dropping, but they are increasing more and more and more. In fact, there was even a thing, I believe it was on ABC recently, remarking about the worldwide sightings are increasing, not dropping. And so that's been around for 52 years. This next one I want to talk about has been around for 27 years. And this has to do with the crop circles. And this is in England. Now, these ones I'm about to show you are 1998's. They're last year's crop circles. There are other ones besides these ones, but I'm just going to give you a few examples of them. And this is another thing that the governments of the world said, it's Doug and Dave. They're out there. They're out there making these things, drinking their beer and having a good old time. And I don't know, guys. There are a lot of fakes. There's no doubt about it. They have caught people making these things, and there are fakes that are out there. But what you got to know is that it is absolutely scientifically easy to prove a real crop circle from a fake. All you have to do is read the book of Colin Andrews, The Undeniable Evidence. In the book, The Undeniable Evidence by Colin Andrews, they have proof, because what happens is a true crop circle, and this is a true one here, they are not pushed down or stepped on or laid in place. They are grown in place. The crops themselves grow into that circle. Nobody does it. And there's a little 45-degree angle on the crops that they have analyzed, which is a biological unique situation that no one has ever seen before. And they always have these little 45-degree, like a little knot that goes on there. The crops are still alive. They're not dead. If you take a living crop circle, it will stay that way just until the crops actually do die. Whereas if it's a fake one, after a few days, everything turns brown and it dies. Of course, when you get everybody in there walking all over them, they start killing it. You know, especially if you get hundreds and hundreds of people like they sometimes do. But initially, it's very clear. And the precision of these things is amazing. I mean, they're within just like almost perfect circles. They're not sort of round or kind of round. They're really round. And they've also, if you go into directly into them, which it's hard to, this one was not this way, but it was the only slide. I was there in this one here. This was an interesting one. But this slide doesn't actually show this, but in many of them you'll see that the crops are woven. They're woven like a hair braid. And you'll find, and I've found as many as 5 layers of weaving, where it goes weaving one way, then the other way, then the other way, then the other way, then the other way. And there's this amazing pattern. When you consider that every crop circle ever found in the world was created between sunset and sunrise, always at night, and always during that time, the complexity of the crop circles are right now that it would take an army of people to be able to create these patterns in the world. When you look at these things, they are extremely complex, and each one of these circles is whirling around in a different way. And you can go in there with compasses, and you go into one, and the compass will wildly spin in one direction. You step over on the other side, and it wildly spins in the other direction. What's doing that? They found crop circles are highly radioactive, too. They found crop circles with powder in them. They don't even know what the heck it is. They've never seen it before. And that's a person right there, by the way, that little tiny white thing right there. And it's like, what, 60... I guess this must be like 300 feet across or something. And you can see this, and here's one in here. This is Silbury Hill? That's not how you say it, is it? Silbury Hill, yeah. This is a man-made mountain, the largest one in Europe. It's huge. And this is the one, the crop circle, that almost has the same base. This is different than the one you just saw, by the way. This is a different one. But they're massive, they're huge, and they're extremely complex. Now this one you're probably familiar with. It's interesting that the ones in 1998 are almost all patterns that come out of the Flower of Life. And it looks like whoever's doing it just went to a Flower of Life class or something. And